everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Entertainment with Buford and Francis. Today I'm cosplaying as Buford Van Stum from Phineas and Ferb, and I'll be telling the story of Home on the Range. Enjoy the video. In 1889, Maggie is the only cow left on the Dixon Ranch after Alameda Slim, who was a cattle rustler who's capable of stealing 5,000 cows in a single night, stole all the rest of Dixon's cattle. Mr. Dixon sells Maggie to Pearl, a kind and elderly woman who runs a small dairy farm called Patch of Heaven. The local sheriff arrives to tell Pearl that her bank is cracking down on debtors. Pearl has 3 days to pay the bank $750 or her farm will be sold to the highest bidder. Hearing this, Maggie convinces the other cows on the farm, Grace, who is a happy-go-lucky cow, and Mrs. Calloway, who has had leadership gone to her head, to go to town to attempt winning prize money at a fair and meet her new friends there. On the other hand, in town, Buck, the sheriff's horse, was daydreaming of fighting the bad guys, but the sheriff's dog, Rusty, snaps him out of his daydreaming to remind him it's move at tic-tac-toe. While the cows are in town, a bounty hunter named Rico, whom Buck idolizes, drops a criminal off and collects the reward, stating he needs a replacement horse to go after Alameda Slim while his own horse rests. He borrows Buck. When Maggie finds out the reward for capturing Slim is of exactly $750, she convinces the other cows to try and capture him to save Patch of Heaven. That night they hide among a herd of Texas longhorns when Alameda Slim appears. Before any of them can do anything, Slim begins a yodeling song which sends all the cattle, except Grace, who is tone-deaf, in a trance that causes them to dance madly and follow Slim anywhere. Luckily, Grace is able to bring Maggie and Mrs. Calloway back to their senses by letting the wagon go down them just before Slim closes the path behind him with a rock slide to stop Rico and his men from chasing him. As Rico discusses with his men what his next move will be, Buck starts talking to Maggie, Grace, and Mrs. Calloway as old friends and mimicking actions. This causes Rico to believe Buck is frightened by the cows and sends Buck back to the sheriff. Buck escapes, determined to capture Slim for himself to prove his worth. Maggie, Grace, and Mrs. Calloway are left behind, but the rain came and caused a flash flood, and after they find a rock for a shelter, Mrs. Calloway argues with Maggie that they're going back to Patch of Heaven rather than capturing Slim. Later next morning, they meet a peg-legged rabbit named Lucky Jack, who leads them to the Slim's hideout mine. At the mine, Slim reveals that he has been stealing all cattle from his former patrons. When his former patrons can't support their land anymore, he buys the land when it's auctioned off under the guise of the respectable-looking Mr. Odell, using the very money he gets from selling the cattle he stole. After arriving to Slim's hideout, the cows capture Slim. They run off with Slim's accomplices and are in pursuit of a steam train. When the chase stops, Rico arrives and is revealed to work for Slim. Slim dons his Yancey Odell costume and leaves the cows stranded in the middle of the desert with the train while he goes to attend the auction. However, Buck redeems himself to save the cows and defeat Rico, Wesley, and the Willie brothers. The cows arrive using Wesley's train to the farm and expose Slim with the help of the animals in Patch of Heaven. Slim is arrested by the police, and Patch of Heaven is saved by the reward money. A few weeks pass, and at the county fair, most of the livestock on Patch of Heaven had won prizes. Lucky Jack Rabbit moves in with Jeb the goat and 2 longhorns, Bob and Barry, and Slim's charming and gentlemanly steed, Junior the buffalo, arrive unexpectedly to live at Patch of Heaven, expanding the farm.